Thank you, Perry. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for showing up today here. We have a lot of people, over 100 people right now on the Zoom. Beautiful day out there. It started with, you probably all heard the sighting of a 200-pound brown bear on campus. Unfortunately, it was hit by a car apparently on 113, and it seems like the latest announcement is that it died. But anyway, I guess they see that nobody else is on campus. They want to be there, and this is.
Ahmed, you went to mute.
I don't know what happened here. Okay, so again, thanks for stopping by and being here. Remember that these sessions are really for you to ask questions from us, and hopefully representatives from different parts of the research administration, our office in general, Office of Research and accounting would answer questions. But let's start with some hopefully quick updates, and then we go from there. So the update on the bear is, you all know it, nothing more than that. Unfortunately, the bear is gone. With that, Kelly, do you want to talk about any updates from the proposal side? Kelly, Associate Director on the proposal side in sponsored programs.
Sure, I have a few updates to go through this morning. I have a couple of announcements about NIH. Many of you may recall that last month I presented about new NIH BioSketch and other support requirements that were to be effective as of May 25th. Since then, updated guidance has been provided by the NIH. NIH still expects applicants and recipients to use the updated BioSketch and other support format for applications, JITs, and research performance progress reports as of May 25th, but will not require that supporting documentation be disclosed to NIH until January 25th, 2022, unless specifically requested by them. This means that other support information still needs to be disclosed at the time of the application package, JIT or RPPR, but the actual supporting documentation does not need to be attached until January 5th, again, unless specifically requested by the program official. Additionally, NIH has created a new email address for BioSketch and other support questions. So if you have any questions about other support and or BioSketch requirements after reviewing the resources on their website, please send the inquiries to NIHOSBiosketch@nih.gov. And if you didn't catch that, don't worry, I'm going to add it to the chat as soon as I'm done with my updates. Second update I have is that in 2022, many of the federal agencies are going to be requiring that we identify UC Davis using our unique entity identifier, also known as a UEI, as opposed to our DUNS number. Again, that takes place in 2022. However, we recently learned that all of the downloadable forms in grants.gov are requesting our UEI now. In case you're asked to provide our UEI on a proposal document, the number is T as in Tom, X as in X-ray, 2, D as in David, A as in Apple, G as in girl, Q as in Queen, P as in Paul, E as in Emily, N as in Nancy, Z as in zebra, 5. I'm going to post that number to the chat as well. And it's also been added to our institutional information page on our website for quick reference. Excuse me. Third announcement, some departments have been forwarding notice of award letters to the proposal's email inbox. And we understand why people do that. But we want you to know that we're not able to act on those either on the proposals or award side, because there's simply an FYI that an award is going to be issued. There's no actual award or action item for SPO at that point in time. So we're kindly requesting that you just hold on to those letters. And once the award is received, go ahead and forward that to the awards team. And last but not least, I have just a few reminders about the SPO proposal review process. If you have any questions about a proposal that's not yet been submitted via Cayuse and assigned to an analyst, please send those questions directly to proposals@ucdavis.edu rather than an individual. That will ensure that your question is answered as quickly as possible. And then we want to remind everybody that we're reviewing proposals for compliance and regulatory requirements. We're not looking for things like formatting, page margins, font size, spacing, character limitations, or page limitations. So please keep that in mind when you're working with the proposals teams on submissions. And I don't see any questions from anybody. So if that's it, I'll go ahead and update the chat box.
Thank you, Kelly. Regarding the NIH requirements, as Kelly said, originally NIH had wanted to make it effective May 25th. Now, some of the requirements went to the next January. But regarding the documents they want to be uploaded, specifically the agreements that the key personnel might have in foreign countries. You remember that they want the document as well as the translation if the document is not in English. That requirement, unless if they ask for it now, technically is postponed to be sometime in next January. But please, consider talking to your PIs, getting them ready, because when they NIH wants it, they are not going to wait for a month or so for getting the translation, for example. When they want it then. So we have to be prepared for that. Luckily and hopefully, this won't affect a whole lot of a big number of the PIs on campus. But for those of our researchers who have relationships outside the country in the form of, I don't know, consulting, some sort of employment or whatever, they have to have those agreements available for NIH. So let's be very careful about that.
And one more thing on that note, Ahmad, I was just in an FDP session on this very topic, and they're really emphasizing that you need to make sure that whatever you're providing to them has been translated into English if it were originally provided to you in a foreign language. I don't think that's so much of an issue here, but I wanted to put that out there for everybody's information.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. The whole emphasis is that they want translation. They haven't said that if it has to be a verified translation, or I don't know. That I have seen some discussions. How about a Google Translate? But that just the first couple of times that they see Google Translate and it doesn't translate well enough, they are probably going to say that they want it to be translated by a proper, I don't know, entity who can translate and verify. So we'll see how things go along now. Okay, thank you very much for that. Since we are on the proposal area, how about if I mention the fact that one of our colleagues from departments who might be on Zoom right now had a question regarding grantsolution.gov that more and more the federal agencies are requiring for submission of proposals and so on and so forth. And the specific question was that whether we have trainings for that. So for that, I would like Perry, who is our training officer, to talk about this. I know that he has been looking into what we have to do. Perry?
Hi, Ahmed. Thank you. So hello, everybody. It's good to see some familiar faces, familiar names. It's been so long since I've seen so many of you. So Grant Solutions apparently is being used more and more by numerous federal agencies. And in the Sponsored Programs Office, we don't provide trainings on systems that don't belong to us, since we're not systems experts and can't troubleshoot specific issues. But we are adding Grant Solutions to our ERA webpage. It's going to go live tonight, but I will provide the link to that ERA, Electronic Research Administration webpage, in the chat. And on that page, I have added Grant Solutions FAQs that provides a lot of helpful information. And we will also be adding grant solutions to our ERA class that we provide annually now, and will likely be turning into an e-course soon. And if you do need additional help on grant solutions, once you set up an account and you log in, there's a question mark in the top right of the screen, and that leads to their grant solutions training resources to help you. While I have everyone's attention, I also want to let everybody know that between now and the next Research Administration Forum, we have 3 classes coming up, instructor-led trainings via Zoom. So if anyone's interested, I'm just going to run through them real quick. The first is, they're all on Thursdays, June 3rd, June 10th, and then June 17th. The first is Cayuse SP and 424, Role Management, Professional Profiles, and Routing. And that one's from 9 a.m. to 12. The second on June 10th is Cayuse SP, Working with SPO, the Sponsored Programs Office, on awards and pre-award spending requests. That one's from 1 to 4. And the third is on June 17th, Cayuse SP and 424, Working with SPO on subawards, outgoing and incoming. And to get more details and to register for those classes, you go to the UC Learning Center, and I'll put the link to that in the chat. That's all I have right now, unless anyone has any questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Perry. Any questions for either Perry or Kelly up to this point? I don't see any. So how about if we go to updates from awards, Associate Director Grace Liu. Grace?
Sorry, I had an emergency phone call from a PI. Okay. I have a few announcements. The first one is regarding conflicts of interest on awards. And I think I saw some COI folks, so they should jump in here if they wish. One is sometimes we ask for a 700U or a Form 800, and the PI says that they can't find the sponsor. Well, I just want you to know that if the sponsor is in Cayuse, it is in the COI system, because the COI system pulls from Cayuse. So the sponsor will appear exactly as it appears in Cayuse, okay? And if they're entering it into the box and the system can't find it, they should try searching by sponsor code. So they can email COI and ask for the sponsor code. But if they enter the sponsor exactly as it appears in Cayuse, it should come up. All right, so just something to pass on. And then I've heard grant solutions being discussed. So one other thing to keep in mind is that when you're using ERA systems now, please don't use Internet Explorer. Microsoft's no longer supporting Internet Explorer, and Grant Solutions at least has specifically told us not to use Internet Explorer when using their ERA systems. So that's just, so anything else, right? Firefox, Chrome, Edge is the new Explorer. And one more thing is June is the end of the state fiscal year. So if you have any state awards, please send your award modification request to us now, because we have to review it, process it, and then send it back to the sponsor for them to review and sign off. And this all has to be done before the end of June. So please send your no cost extension request, carry forward request to us now for us to review and submit. That's all from awards. Any other questions for us?
I see there is a hand raised. It might be regarding what Perry discussed. Do you want to, the person who is raising the hand? I mean, I don't want to say the name. If you want me to say the name, they'll just, you want to talk about what?
This is Catherine Lawrence. I don't mind being public about who I am. Unfortunately, I'm on my phone rather than my computer. I'm having technical problems. So just getting an account for Grant Solutions is not easy. And I spent 3 days with the help desk just trying to start the process of getting an account created. And the questions that I've had back to SPO so far Unlike with the other submission systems such as grants.gov and Fastlane, the response I've gotten is, yeah, a little bit of, hey, don't ask us. We don't know anything about it either. And so I'm just hoping that at some point, you guys will get to the point where you're comfortable with providing a little bit of help with what is a very confusing system to use.
Okay, Perry, or I don't know, Grace or Kelly.
Yeah.
Is there something we can do in that area?
Hi, Catherine. I'm going to look into your concerns with Grant Solutions and see if we can help folks not go through the same struggles that you have had just to set up their account with Grant Solutions. So I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'm happy to help you guide other people around the problems.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Kathy. Let's see. Before we go to James, I was wondering if there is any update from any other area of Office of Research, IRB, compliance, or anywhere else.
I'd be happy to talk a little bit about IRB. We have some reminders of things that are getting implemented next week. So as a reminder, we're transitioning to our new initial review application next week on June 1st. So that will mean that our HRP 226, that form that the department chair has historically had to sign, will no longer be accepted. They'll have to sign directly in the IRBnet system. We have many trainings available on our website, and I can post those to the chat. We're also, as effective as of June 1st, doing away with all of our quote unquote paper forms, so that continuing review application, the modification application, the RNI applications are all going away. Instead, we're asking that you use the wizard form, the post-approval submission form in IRBnet. We also have trainings for those available on our website. And so those are kind of the biggest changes that are happening. We'll also be sending out a listserv announcement about some other policy changes, which Dr. Mohapatra just approved this past week. So we're going to be implementing those, and please look for our listserv announcement.
Thank you very much, Ben. If there's nothing else, let's go to James. James from accounting.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Perry, do you see my title page there?
Absolutely, it looks gorgeous.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I do have a few updates coming from the contracts and grants accounting area. Some good, some bad, some just is what it is. First up is, I wanted to click on the right screen, first of all. Let you know where we are with a few of our system updates and changes. This is, there's a little bit of frustration. I know that we're all feeling around some of these, the delays here. First up is our effort reporting system is still on hold, waiting for the last tranche of data to come through from the UC Path Center. You know, this has been escalated and prioritized. It's on the UC Path Center list for their tasks to accomplish in what they call they do a sprint every month. And this is now on their June sprint. We're hoping earlier rather than later in June. Once we get that data, again, I think what I said last time, once we get the data, we're about ready to go. We just need to load it, you know, do some initial analysis and make sure that it looks legit, and then go ahead and open up the effort reports. The plan was, because this is a unique situation we're going through right now, we were going to provide a little bit bigger window for the ERS coordinators to spend a couple more days than usual reviewing the reports that are on your lists. before we send the notice out to the PIs saying that it's good to go. We also have, just a reminder, I'm pretty sure we mentioned before, there's new functionality in there that will allow us to tag reports that aren't really ready to be certified because we think some additional review needs to happen. So we'll have a ability to put a label on it that says, this is currently under review. Please PI, hold off on your certification of this report until we give you the green light, or the department coordinator gives you the green light. Okay, I see chat things coming in, and okay, that's IRB still. Okay, next update here is the cost share application. We actually sent a note out to let you know that we were going to be doing the upgrade this week. We were going to need to take the system down for a day. That's what the estimates were telling us was going to be required. We then got word that this upgrade, because of the incredible amount of data and whatever the, I don't know the programming significance of all this stuff, but it's turned into an operation that's going to take 3, 4, maybe 5 days to complete, or we just don't know. So rather than pulling the cost share application offline in this last week of the month, when we know that some of you are trying to get your final reports, you might have some final reports due that you're working on, we decided to leave the application up, and then we'll take it down over the holiday weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to get some data loaded over the weekend. Because it's going to take a longer period of time to get the system fully loaded with all the data we want in there, we think we're going to initially, the initial pass is going to be to get fiscal 19, fiscal 20, and fiscal 21 into the system. Once we have those 3 years of data in, we'll go ahead and reopen the application so you can get into it and work on stuff within those most recent 3 years. And then simultaneously, we'll continue loading data, working backwards a few more years. I think we've asked to go back 7 years to cover the potential that we've got maybe a 5-year project that had, a no-cost extension or two, that you really do need to reach way back in time to get to. But that's the game plan on the cost share application. I really apologize. We were hopeful this was going to be a slick transition. And again, we think that you're going to appreciate the improved performance of the system once you're able to get in there. So that, and then the last system update that is a little frustrating for everyone I know, and frustrating for the faculty that are not able to get in and do their PI ledger review. This, was reported and they've been working on it for a few weeks now, or I guess a month now. We're in testing. Actually, Deborah Hen was on, but she was going to jump off of this call because she's meeting with a PI at 9 o'clock to get that PI to help with testing, because there's not, just because we can't test it on our side, we have to get their help in looking to see that the links and everything are working. Crossing our fingers that we can get some verification that is the fixes that they put in are actually working, so that we can go ahead and let folks know that the PI ledger review is good to go again. So I should have, look, maybe I should have had one of those big frowny faces as my background on here, because this was a little discouraging where we are, but hopefully within the next, month, hopefully by the time we get to the next research admin forum, I'll be able to say, this is all lining up, this is all lining up, this is all lining up. I'll just take a quick pause, and I don't see any questions coming in. Okay. All right. Okay, so on a little more positive information sharing, I can let you know that on yesterday we did receive in The final proposed benefit rates, that information is being posted to our website on the costing policy and analysis page. I think some of it'll be up. I think so, it may already be up. I'm not positive, or it will be up very soon. So you can take a look at that as you're looking out to fiscal 22. And then the other rate update is the negotiations are actually going to start with the feds tomorrow for the F&A rates. Talking with Mike LeGrand, he's the associate controller and finance director that's leading the negotiations. He's anticipating that we will have final approved rates, sometime in the June, July time period. And again, that first year that we move into, they're going to keep those rates flat so that we aren't, monkeying around with stuff that's just impending right now. Okay, all right. So progress, forward momentum here. So that feels good. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. My next is our favorite time of the year, fiscal close. I think there have been some initial communications that have come out from the FIS help desk, kind of the heads up. There is the calendar that you might want to bookmark so that you can take a look at notifications that are going up there and keep track of what your, what the target dates are or completion dates are for tasks. It's really hard to believe it's already June, effectively. For CGA, just a reminder that there are a couple of things that are very important for our funds that we really appreciate your assistance with, and trying to work into all the multiple tasks that you're balancing. One is remember, y'all get a list of overdrafts every month as helpful reminders to help you find where you might have things that need to get cleaned up. Please do focus in on those overdrafts, and critically on overdrafts that are sitting on closed awards. Sometimes we have awards that closed, a year ago, and we still have overdrafts posted to them. Typically what we do in CGA is we do try to, let's say, help you with getting those cleared off. It's been quite an interesting year, and I don't know that throughout the year we chipped away at those as much as we might have liked. We also try to ratchet that up a little bit here at year end. So we'll just send you an email and say, hey, you've got an overdraft. Do you want us to clear this for you? Tell us the account, and then we can do that using the OBD1. We use the OBD1 object code, so that may be a way. If you really do need the expenses broken out to the specific object codes or salaries or whatever that are charged there, then you'd need to be processing those transfers to get them cleared out. So that's the number one thing. Please take a look at that. And then the other is our process for getting the accruals booked for, we're specifically focused in on our open subawards, where we may have a $500,000 subaward out to University of Washington. And they've only billed us, Washington's probably pretty good, but let's pick on them. Maybe they got a little behind in their billing, so maybe they haven't billed us since, December or something. So potentially we could have a lot of expense associated with that subaward that hasn't been recorded. So that's where we want to be able to book accruals. We will be sending out, those of you that have done this before, we'll send out a list of open NPAs. I think the threshold we use is $25,000 balance on that award. But we don't try to nickel and dime you, give you the ones to kind of focus in on. The idea is that you can then follow up with the sub and say, hey, we haven't received an invoice in a while. Could you get it to me? Could you give me an estimate of what you're going to bill? Get something so that, ideally you get the invoice in, you go ahead and pay the invoice, the expense is recorded. That's the cleanest way to do it. In lieu of that, you can record an accrual, and it's on the fiscal close information page, so that we can recognize that expense in the appropriate accounting year, fiscal year. Remember, the accruals are reversing entries, so they'll go in on the June final and come out in July. And remember, please wait until the June final ledger opens. Please don't record those accruals to the June preliminary ledger. That screws up our cash draws, because the cash draws are really based on what appears to be expenses on the ledger. And those accruals, as far as that process works, they just look like expenses. A few years ago, we had to scramble because we had, had to do some extra work where some of these were hitting a little earlier than intended. So that brings me to what I guess a question for those of you out in the departments that work with this process, every year. We always debate on the best timing of trying to provide the list of open NPAs, so that it gives you enough time, to try to do that follow-up, but also kind of minimizes that window where things are slipping in and hitting the June prelim because people, maybe just are anxious to get things wrapped up or whatever it is. So I'm wondering, just a very informal poll for those of you that participate in this activity, in the chat, and I'm just going to do kind of an eyeballing of it. Could you put in the chat where you would appreciate getting that information? Let's say early June, mid-June, or late June. If you could just throw one of those three, or I don't know. No, I don't want you to say never, because I know you're all really anxious to get that information. So never isn't a choice. And then I'll just do kind of an informal, I'll just add them up. I'm already seeing a lot of early Junes, and I think that's going to be the last thing that I wanted to talk about. So unless there are other questions or thoughts, yeah, a lot of early Junes. Okay. Then we'll try to speed up our process there. Like I said, we usually wait a little bit later. I guess what we'll do is put about 17 times in the communication, don't hit the June prelim, please. Wait for the June final to open. Wait for the June final, wait for the June final. Okay.
James, there was a question for you in the chat on top of all of these early June.
I launched that question so that
so you could bury that other one.
So that I would. Okay, so what do you recommend for delayed amendments for funds from other campuses? Do we hold payroll on the previous year? The advance account is always that's always the best. Is if you're going to if the way it's going to work is we need to have that from other, so we're talking about multi-campus agreements, and if we need to break it into separate accounts, then it's best to do that. Set up a new account in advance of the amendment coming in, so that you can get those expenses in the right place, so that we're set up to bill once we get the official green light to go ahead there, and then we don't have problems with expenses sitting in the prior year account, which confuses confuses the issue, because we have to parse that out when we're doing the final year one billing, or whichever year it happens to be in. Brooke, the June final. The idea is, so there was just a clarification of, am I talking about the June final or July final? I'm talking about the June final. That is the last ledger, right, of fiscal 2021. And what we're wanting to do is get any expenses related to fiscal 2021 on the books for that year. If you wait till July, then, now that said, it may actually be July when you're actually hitting it. Oh, if I said it, then thank you. Yes, then I do as my slides say, not as my lips read. How about that? Thanks, Brooke. An NPA, okay, I'm sorry. So an NPA is a non-purchasing agreement. That's effectively the purchase order that's in KFS to account for multi or subawards, because they aren't actually. Anyway, it's the document that is used in KFS to manage the amount of the subaward and then the payments against that subaward. Okay. Sure. Okay, I will stop there. Thank you all. Happy fiscal close.
Thank you, James. Let's see, I don't see any more questions for James. Let's go to our next topic. Let's see, we have a couple of people from our colleagues from a different department. But before getting to that, I want to tell you that I'm sure you know certain proposals and awards for students and postdocs are processed outside sponsored programs. And for that, I would like Kelly, who is our proposal person here in Office of Research, to give a little bit of background information and introduce our colleagues from grad studies who would give us some information about what they do. Kelly?
Sure. So as everybody knows, SPO handles a large portion of proposals that are submitted to extramurally funded or for extramurally funded research. But that doesn't mean that we submit all proposals that leave the campus. So grad studies is actually another office on campus that handles proposals. They handle the proposals specifically for fellowships where the PI is the graduate student. So we thought it would be a really nice treat for everybody to hear from grad studies themselves as to kind of what they do and what their processes are. So here today we have Stephen Albrecht, who is their director, and we have Yvette Garcia, who's one of their analysts, here to kind of give you an overview about graduate studies and who they are and what they do. So with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen and Yvette. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Stephen left. He had another meeting to attend, so I will be going over this for you guys. External fellowships, that is the portion that I actually cover. I used to cover that with Ryan Bixman, but he is no longer with us, and that position will be posted soon. With that, just to go over what we do. We are a financial support unit that assists in finding, applying, and submitting fellowships for the PIs all the way through post-award administration. Typically, a PI will notify us ahead of time with their intent of fellowships they intend to apply to. Once they notify us, we will touch base with them regularly until the application submission date draws closer. As it draws closer, we will email them and notify them that they have about 5 business days. We require about 5 business days for them to submit the application or for their review, to us to review the application and ensure that it adheres to the fellowship guidelines. But we do not check for spelling errors or any information being relayed in the application, but we ensure that the page counts are met, the required documents such as bio sketches project summaries, narratives, cover letters, all of those items are included. We offer support to graduate and postdoc fellows, and we serve as their authorized official representative, or AOR, which is typically required on most application submissions. Some of the external agencies portals that we work with are Assist, Proposal Central, and Inspires, just to name a few of them. We submit the applications, the progress reports, and/or the fellowship terminations and closeouts. We do not process the closeouts. Those run through CGA, and they will do a reconciliation and submit on their end. Some of the internal systems that we use are Cayuse SP, Cayuse 424, Banner, GradHub, GradChecks, RAMS, Koali, and formerly Decision Support, which is FIS now. We assist with the IPFs in Cayuse and gather all the required documents there, such as the RFA, PI exception forms, budget justifications, the proposals, and indirect cost waivers. There have been confusions as to which fellowships run through our office and which ones run through SPO. The ones that run through our office are awards for fellowships being sent directly to the PI. Some fellowships require their mentor to be listed as the PI first, and the actual student is listed as a secondary. However, the award goes to the student and not the mentor. Those still run through our office. If they are grants that are being awarded to a faculty, those are the items that will run through SPO, is my understanding. If I'm wrong in that, I can definitely find clarification, and I will reach out to the correct contacts to find out and get them routed accordingly. Any questions? No? Okay.
Thank you very much, Yvette. So the bottom line is that the proposals/awards that are for the student, in this case, that as Yvette talked about, those are the responsibility of graduate studies. So, for example, if there is an award, typical award, and there are students on the award, PI is Professor X and students are on the award, that's not what we are talking about here. We are talking about fellowships that are geared to graduate students and postdocs. No questions on that?
Well, can I just chime in with one? Yvette was mentioning the different systems, and one thing that's happened in the last, this year, I don't know what point, but the American Heart Association transferred their, over to Proposal Central as their award management system, and that introduced a new wrinkle in the kind of award acceptance process, where now, it's necessary for me as the institution's financial officer to go into Proposal Central and sign off on the budget. But there's been a little bit of confusion that I don't know if folks might be able to help, as you might have some of these fellowship awards in your departments. The initial contact point, because they'll get a message saying the financial officer needs to sign, so they're contacting me. But then all I do is I turn around and I contact grad studies and say, hey, I've got this request. Can you take a look and make sure that the budget is lining up with what, the budget that they've entered into the system lines up with what you're expecting. So it's a little bit of back and forth. So if there's any way of letting them know, please start with grad studies and they'll coordinate getting the necessary signatures, that would be great. That's the one thing. And just on system submissions in general, it seems there's just been, an explosion of of sponsors that have been standing up or getting into various submission portals for financial reports. And often I'm tagged as the financial officer. So just a heads up, because there are more and more of these. If the reports are pushed out, the sooner we can get those reports wrapped up and let me know that I need to get into the system, it'll be a little bit smoother. And I know it's sometimes a challenge, and we are right up on the deadlines, but just whatever and I know some of my folks are on this call as well. So for them as well, trying to get those portals to the extent possible to me with at least a few days lead time would be very appreciated. Okay, I'll stop. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all we had for our presentation. So any questions from anywhere to any of us? No? If not, this is going to be a short meeting again. Well, it seems like we are all done. Again, thank you very much. More than 150 people were attending today. And seems like we are done. Let's see, something is coming in the chat. Nope, that's all, thank yous. Okay, thank you very much. Let's stop. Next time we will meet in June, so things might be different by then. More of us might be on the campus by the time we meet next time. And hopefully all of what we have had to put up with during the last year would start being behind us. Take care, stay safe, and see you next time. Bye-bye.